Good evening. Good evening. It is early evening for some of you, and the sun is setting for most of us wherever we are. The sun has set where I am in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm glad that technology allows for us to be together across space and time. So it is good for us to be here. We each made an active and important decision today, tonight, when we logged on to this event. So each of you decided to take a small step toward a common desire that we all have, which is to live free and for our communities to be safe. I hope I'm not making too many assumptions with that. Though the conversation and organizing concerning abolition is not new, over the last couple of months, our social media timelines and our streets in cities across the US have been filled with organizers and protesters calling for the defunding of the police, the abolition of the police, and the greater call for prison abolition as well. I am here, Jazzy Johnson, as you see on the slide, because I have heard that call loudly and clearly from young folks on the ground through their pain, through their exhaustion, and through them doing the work, the policy research, the sacrificial co-creating and trial and error that they are doing to try and build a world where we can all be free. Actually free is why I'm here. And I say actually because this conversation and laboring around abolition feels foreign to many of us because we have been living under the illusion that we are all free when we are not. So I am here because I have heard a loud and clear invitation from the Spirit of God, because I am a person of faith, to join this discourse and dialogue, to go deeper, to imagine, and to take action. Some of you may resonate. Why are you here? What is the story you are telling yourself about why you are here? And is that a true story? What do you need to do tonight? How do you need to posture yourself to be open and present to how you may encounter yourself in new ways? To be open and present to how you may hear new ideas and new information, to be open and present, if you are a person of faith, to the ways in which the Spirit of God will move amongst us this evening. To be present, to activate our imaginations, perhaps in ways we have never experienced before. You're here probably because you have lots of questions. I've read them. You do. You have lots of questions. Some of you are asking the question when you hear the call to abolish the police of, can we even do that? Some of you are asking, what are other policies and community practices that we need to undergird this vision? What about violent crimes? Most of us are asking, what would this even look like? And we know that we cannot answer all of your questions and concerns, but we hope to engage with many of them tonight and most likely stir up more. So we're grateful that each of you is here. And as you can see, you are not here alone. There are about 300 of us on this call tonight, present in our different spaces. And you're actually going to see some people on the screen. We're going to call them our studio audience. Do not worry. If you're logged in and you see other people on the screen besides me, don't freak out. We can't see you. I promise you we can't see you. So whatever you're doing, don't feel alarmed. But we have created a studio audience so that we can model and we can try to make this feel like a community conversation, because it is. Yes, we will be hearing from presenters, but this conversation is fully communal and takes groups of people coming together in their various contexts. And so we have people on our call who are doing that, and we hope that you all will replicate this type of dialogue in your own context. So that's why you will see some folks. Now, can I get the demographic information to come up? Okay, so you should be able to see some of our polling information. You all have been doing the poll since you logged in. And as you can see, you're all coming from various geographical locations. The Midwest is representing hard out here. I did used to live there. I still would not call myself a Midwesterner, but I'm glad y'all are representing. We are coming from varied racialized backgrounds, various genders. You can see that many of us, most of us on this call may identify as Christian, but not everyone. And some people are still on that journey. And I also want us to recognize that even if you identify as Christian, remember that Christians also have varying theological beliefs and spiritual journeys. And so we're all gathered together across our difference, across space, across time, across inevitable disagreement. Yes, disagreement, but we're still here together. And so because of our varying unique stories and questions and identities that we have in this space, we want to go over a couple of ways that we want to interact in this space. So first, a little Zoom etiquette. We want you all to participate in the chat box when we have it on. And I said when we have it on because once our presenters are speaking, we're going to turn off the chat box so that you all can be present. I'm going to ask them to enable the chat box now. You can start being nice, but listen as I'm speaking around our etiquette, because we will not tolerate any hatred or anything in this event. We will kick you out, and I'm just being real, right? So you can use the chat box. We want you to use it as a way of maybe speaking an amen into the world, or maybe something hurts, and as justice programs folks encourage us to do, you say ouch if it hurts a little bit. We want you to interact with one another in ways that are building up and that are good for the community and the conversation. But anything that is hateful, anything profane, racist, sexist, all of that, we will kick you out, and have no shame around that. This is not a space of ideological grandstanding or trolling or belligerent attacks of individuals or people groups. Don't be that person. I'm just asking you, don't be that person. If we detect any of this, you will be removed immediately. Cool? If you have any problems, please send a message to Barnabas Lynn, or you can raise your hand and we'll help you out. We understand technology is a struggle. And when it's time to submit Q&As, I will signal that to you all, and you can click on the link below for Q&A. It says Q&A, it's very simple, and submit a question. And what we're going to ask you all to think about, though, is if there are over 300 people on this call, consider what it would be like if every single one of you submitted a question to us, and then submitted another one, and then submitted another one. We're going to ask you not to do that, okay? Try to limit your questions to one per presentation, and if not, actually, pay attention to the questions that are already being posted and vote up questions that are similar to yours. So make sure you look through and note that maybe you don't need to write your question again. Cool? Okay, that's Zoom etiquette. And next I want to talk a little bit about community agreements for how we engage in dialogue in a space like this. Those of you who do know me, I am a dialogue moderator. And a lot of people do not believe we can have these type of critical conversations online. I believe we can, but I believe that we have to have some type of agreements with one another in doing so. First, listen harder when you disagree. Don't automatically jump into the chat box when you disagree, but take a moment, listen harder, maybe listen a little longer, and see if it gets worked out in the area where there's disagreement. Second, assume that we are all here to learn. We're all trying to learn. We're all trying to figure this out together. Third, be curious and generous toward yourself and others. If stuff comes up within you, pay attention to that and with other people. And I'm going to ask you all to call in and abstain from calling out. We live in a time that is a call out culture. I get it. We're not going to do that in this space because we are seeking to honor a dialogical space where multiple things can exist at once and exist as true. And we want to keep folks engaged and understand that mutual conversion can happen, that people can be changed by what they hear. And that doesn't always happen when we kick them out. Now, I did say if you're violent or you're profane, we will kick you out. That's not the same. This is how we're trying to engage in dialogue, right? Be attentive to your body. That's something I always throw in. If something causes you to raise an eyebrow or something causes tension or stress in your body, pay attention to that. All right, that's how we're going to try and engage with one another when we do interact in the chat box and do dialogue together. I believe really strongly in disrupting passive observance in our learning and our formation. So if you don't engage in the chat box, which I do understand that we are coming from various backgrounds and some of you might have turned this on while you're washing the dishes or what have you. If you don't engage in the chat box, please talk with someone who is in the room with you. If no one is in the room with you, please write something down in your journal or a note on your phone or send a text message to somebody who you will dialogue with later about what you're learning, what you're thinking, how the Spirit is moving. Do not allow this evening to be static or a one-time event or engagement. This is a beginning for many of us. Cool? Disrupt the passive observance. I asked you why you specifically were here. Now, why are we here? What if safety in our communities wasn't only somebody else's responsibility? What if safety in our communities was all of our responsibilities? And remember, when I say safety, control and comfort are not synonymous with safety, right? We are here not only to hear from our presenters, but to imagine together, to begin wrestling and journeying together, even when disagreement persists, toward a world in which all of us can be safe and all of us can be free, and wondering if it is even possible for both of those things to be true at the same time, because in the history of the United States, we have never seen it. Currently, the call to abolition is living mainly within the radical Black imagination. An imagination from a people who, though trampled, who, though beaten, brutalized, and buried at every turn, we have fought to continue cultivating and sustaining Black imagination, which imagines a world where we can finally be free. There are organizations that continue to challenge me and have taught me about abolition, like the Let Us Breathe Collective in Chicago, or Assata's Daughters, or the Movement for Black Lives. There are many folks who are doing this work. I cannot name them all. And tonight, our hope is for us, the over 300 of us, to activate our collective imaginations in our various contexts, right? So imagine with me. We're actually going to do an exercise before we ascend to our minds as we hear from our presenters. For a few moments, I want you to sink deeply into your body. I know you're in many different spaces, but if you are able to do so, and if it is safe for you, can you close your eyes with me? Close your eyes. Imagine that you are walking through your neighborhood or your community. It may be your neighborhood on the west side of Chicago, or the northern suburbs of Atlanta, or maybe in Koreatown in Los Angeles downtown, or the streets of St. Louis or Louisville. Wherever you live, whatever it is your community, take a walk in your mind right now. Even if you normally drive, let's get out and walk. Walk through your community. Now, as you are walking through your community, as you are looking around in your community, consider this question. What would it mean for your community to be completely safe? What would it mean for your community to be completely safe, the community that you are walking around in right now in your mind? As you're walking down the street, what do you see? Who do you see? What do you hear in this community that is completely safe? What do you smell in this community that is yours and that is safe? What do you taste? What can you reach out and feel? You can open your eyes, and I want you to share in the chat box a little bit of what did you see? What did you hear? What did you smell? And read in the chat box what other people are writing. Read in the chat box the dreams that we each have for our communities to be safe, to hear birds singing, people drumming, to see green spaces, to smell carne asada, to see kids playing ball, to hear laughter. Read the dreams that we all share. Are there commonalities? Where do they diverge? We all have dreams for our communities. We all can imagine that, what it means to be safe. And one more question I want to ask you all is, if abolition were to come to bear, what do you have to offer a world without police and prisons? What do you have to offer? Share that in the chat box. I've seen the Let Us Breathe Collective in Chicago, after they had occupied a block in the Lawndale neighborhood a few years back. They asked some of the young women in the community what would they have to offer to a world without police. And they said dance, and they just danced. In this lovely video that I've seen that we will share in resources later. What do you